Today I'm going to be looking at Keyforge, one of the most exciting things to happen to card games in years. It's produced by Fantasy Flight Games and has the very strange twist that during the manufacturing process...
Quinn? Negative review, positive review of Keyforge, you gotta do it with me,
Quinns, did you just run here?
You gotta, just let me into the...
Did you run here from Brighton?
I'm gonna be sick, let me into the house.
Alright, I guess today we're looking at Keyforge, a card game with the mind-bending twist that during the manufacturing process, each deck of cards is given its own unique spread, which means whilst you can collect decks of Keyforge, you cannot combine them together or change them. The deck is completely fixed, and it means that when you open it, you've no idea what's going to be in it, or if it's even going to be any good.
Or if you're gonna have any fun.
Alright, well this is going to be an interesting review today, and the fact that I really like Keyforge, whilst Quinns doesn't.
Well, it's not that I don't like it. I actually think it's great. There's now a game for people who struggle to follow the plot of Instagram stories.
Can we at least explain what the game is first?
All right. To win a game of Keyforge, you need to forge 3 keys. Each key is made of 6 amber, a word that somehow manages to be worse than if the designers had just chosen either amber or ember. So, the game of Keyforge is a race to get amber.
So the world of Keyforge is made up of 6 warring houses, from the flame-belching giants of Brobnar to the pulp sci-fi aliens of Mars. Each deck is made up of 3 of these 6 houses, and on your turn you pick a house and can play all cards in your hand matching that house, with spells having an immediate effect, artifacts granting you their power, and characters going into your lineup. You can also use all the characters or artifacts of that house that you added to your lineup in any previous turns. These characters can either attack someone in your opponent's lineup, possibly killing one or both of them based on their strength, or you can instead use that character to reap, which means they get you an amber.
But where do they get the amber from, Matt?
From the reap shop. I don't know, alright? Shut up. Finally, at the end of your turn, no matter how many cards you played, you draw back up to 6 cards.
Beyond these basics are all sorts of other mechanics. There are cards that steal amber or hold it hostage. There are cards that let you put other cards into your archives, letting you play them again later, repeating on your opponent like bad sashimi. There are cards that wipe the whole table, or cards that will have your opponent going, sorry, can I just read that for a second? It can't really do that, can it? So that's the basic game, but here's the best bit. To play it, you just need a deck to call your own, maybe one more if you want to play with a friend. There is a starter set, but you don't need to worry about it because 1, it's out of stock, you can't actually buy it. 2, it doesn't include a manual, which is bizarre and unforgivable. It means you have to look up everything on your phone, which I hate. And 3, you don't need these fancy tokens, you can just use anything.
Personally, I like to use Brussels sprouts as keys and bits of carrot as amber.
Wow, Matt, are these available to buy from Shut Up and Sit Down?
No, they're not available to buy in shops, but better than that, you can now pre-order my special videotape teaching you how to make your very own official Shut Up and Sit Down Keyforge tokens. It's coming out 2019 and it's only £9.99.
Can I give you money now?
No. And these are my actual Keyforge decks contained here in my special edition, 100% official, Fantastic Flight Games Keyforge deck bag. It's pretty neat. Can I come to your house for tea and have fish fingers and lose all of my pogs to you in a bet? Quinns was frankly a little mean earlier when he said that Keyforge was a little basic, and by proxy, that means I'm a little basic as well. But in truth, the root of what makes this game quite cool is definitely based on a sort of scattershot, childish thrill. Now, I personally haven't found it to be addictive at all, but everything about Keyforge feels like you're taking a tug on a goofy lever. What's in this pack? Is it any good? Is it awful? Shuffle it. Let's have a play. Let's find out. What's its name? Has it got an accidentally really racist name that needs to be sent back to the manufacturers? It's just a roller coaster. And then in play, well, Keyforge is just downright feisty. Maybe your opponent will play an endless combo of cards in an odd way that has both of you just going, I don't even know what's happening anymore. Maybe you'll think, fantastic, and you will just drop an incredible army of giants onto the table, only to then immediately see them all just being unceremoniously swiped into a bin. It is wild, colourful, swingy as hell, and just an absolute riot to pull the lever and see what happens.
What does the lime mean again?
Stun.
Oh, stun, right. Now, look, there's no denying that there's a peppery thrill to playing Keyforge. The same thing you get from hitting combos on a pinball table, where you get to play everything and then use everything and then draw everything.
But that actually also gets you 2 Ember.
Out, right. But that's only fun on my turn. In the words of a friend of ours, I love my turn in Keyforge. I hate my opponent's turn. I hate watching them play everything and then use everything and then draw everything. All of it greased with the unpleasant unknown of me not knowing when this assault on my good times will end. And in only enjoying like some of my opponent's turns, I feel like I'm only actually enjoying maybe 70% of a game of Keyforge, and the other 30% of my time is spent waiting for it to stop.
Oh, waiting for other people to finish their turns isn't that bad.
I mean, maybe for some people who don't have anything better to do.
I get the impression that, frankly, you just don't want to like Keyforge.
Well, all right, you know what? I actually don't want to like Keyforge, but it's for a really weird reason. All right, let's talk about theme in collectible card games, which I might describe as something of a magic trick, if you'll pardon the pun. You see, every card in a game will have a piece of art and a name, maybe some flavor text, and all of this comes together to create a story, not just of the match you're playing, but of individual moves. And all of this sits under the game like a bed. And even if you're not thinking about it all the time, everyone would agree that the game would be much impoverished without it. Now, Keyforge for me is a staggeringly expensive failure to evoke anything at all. Look at all these beautiful pieces of art they've commissioned, all of these idiosyncratic characters they've invented, and all any of it does is make me feel bad things, like I'm a pretend racist. I get frustrated that all Sanctum look the same. I feel sick to my stomach when I see Martians playing with elves. That's a profoundly embarrassing mashup, like finding your dad in Smash Brothers. As we played game after game of Keyforge and it just didn't grip me, I came to realise that this stuff is really important to me. And you have to understand, Keyforge doesn't even have a memorable high concept, like Magic the Gathering is wizard versus wizard or Netrunner is hacker versus corporation. In Keyforge, I literally don't know what I am, and I don't know what keys are, and I don't know why we want to forge them. I should probably go look that up. Right. In Keyforge, you become an Archon, one of the only native inhabitants of the Crucible. The world was built for your kind by the mischievous and enigmatic architects who cobbled together pieces of every planet in the galaxy. Hailed by some as a god, you now seek to understand humus find and unlock using keys. This knowledge is held in countless hidden vaults, capital V.
But by the same merit, how much of my love for this game, not this game, this is Magic the Gathering, how much of my love for Keyforge is based on the fact that the execution and idea behind it is audacious. I'm both a huge lover of innovative ideas and, perhaps more importantly, meticulously, carefully constructed technical achievements. I'm the sort of person, if I get to automate something in Adobe software during my workday, that's a good workday for me. Ooh, that's what I get out of bed for in the morning. So how much of Keyforge really is just gimmick?
Hey! Loving that board game. Like and subscribe.
Oh, not now, Quince.
Give us a subscription.
Quince. Wake up, Quince. You're doing it again.
Oh no.
It's not the end of the video.
Again.
Quince, wake up. For the love of God.
Wait, stop.
Now, after spending a ton of time with Keyforge, I realised that whilst you do have games that spiral off into the downright unhinged. Generally speaking, there's a lot more depth and strategy to this game than I first thought. A lot of this comes down to the fact that the rule of you can play as many cards from your hand as you want, providing they're the same suit, does mean that in your early games you're like, I'm gonna play 6 Martians all at once. You're like a grown-up who's recently got their own place and realised that no one can stop you from ordering 3 pizzas, or 6. However though, once you've got past that early stage, you start to have some interesting questions. Do I want to play just 3 of the cards this round and hold on to the other 3? In fact, I played a game recently where I got thrashed by someone who for 3 rounds in a row didn't actually play any new cards, instead just activating things that were already on the table. But the thing is, I still had a lot of fun while I was losing. And to understand why that is, you need to boil back down to the very core of what Keyforge is. Creating a game in which you cannot modify your deck, just is what it is, makes the barrier for entry for Keyforge feel a lot lower than it probably even is. The thing is, it's one thing to know that I'm bad at Magic the Gathering. I am bad at Magic the Gathering. It says Land Station on this box. That's my nickname within the scene. But it's not knowing how much of it is that you're bad at the game and how much of it is that your deck is not good. And it's thinking about that is a process that it doesn't allow me to feel present in the game when I'm playing it and enjoy the highs and lows. Because when you're winning in something like Magic, it's glorious. This feeling that your engine is just smoothly running and destroying things. You did that. You were the architect of all of that, and that's wonderful. But if you're just getting stomped, then you sit there and you ruminate and you can't help but think, did I play badly? Should this deck be different? Should I get more cards? Is the mana ratio wrong? Is my flow bad? Maybe I should buy some more things, and it's just horrible. When I'm losing in a game of Keyforge, I don't really feel like there's a lot I can do about it. Like, obviously I could have played better, and I know that, but I'm not gonna wind myself up about that. I can't change anything else. If a deck is junk, it's just junk, and it will always be junk. And honestly, regardless of how fair that is, having this ability to just blame a deck and be like, well, nothing I could do about it, it's just bad, no point thinking about that anymore. For someone like me, that is honestly kind of wonderful. And this is interesting, I think. Because you have this get out, because you don't have people being like, I'm gonna crush you with the house that I built, you get this whole different culture around the game and about how it's played. And what I've experienced myself so far, firsthand in playing it, is that yes, you're still competing. And yes, there is still a very valid question of how good are you at Keyforge? How consistently good are you with whatever you're given? But most of the play I've found has had this weirdly collaborative scientific feel of people wanting to know, like, this deck is really good. How good is it? Like, let's work together to find out how good is this deck? Let's try it against everything. Or even, how bad is this deck? I hate this deck. It seems awful. Do you want to try it? I think you should try it because you're better at the game than me, and I want to see if you can do anything with it. And it's this aura of the unknown. This, for some people, causes mild confusion about what even is Keyforge. That's why I find it so compelling. It's, for someone like me, a bona fide scrub. It's wonderful to have something so strange and something that people can't get their head around, particularly for someone who really, frankly, dislikes the tone of the competitive scene that largely surrounds this kind of game.
And this conclusion, that Keyforge is perhaps best for casual play, can also be found in the 2 tournaments that Fantasy Flight has created, because of these 2 types of tournaments, the more casual one is so much more appealing, right? The casual one is called Sealed, and when you show up to the tournament, everyone gets their own deck. That's yours, that's yours, that's yours. You have no idea what's going to be in the deck. You play it, open it up, you're gonna, he's eager. And then you're gonna do badly or you're gonna do well, but it's also low stakes, it's all surprising. Lovely. The other kind of tournament they've announced, Archon, sees players instead bringing their best deck. Where is it, where is it, where is it? Oh yes, this one. And that is so unappealing to me because I don't want to have to spend time and money fighting the random algorithm to try and find a truly great deck, nor do I want to show up at an Archon tournament and just get bludgeoned by players who've put that time and energy in. No, awful. That's going to maximize what I don't like about Keyforge, which is the part where I'm losing.
It's interesting that as a means of adding balance to competitive play, there's a system called chains, whereby if you keep winning, you add handicaps to the deck to make it slower. And eventually, if decks just keep on winning despite that, then because they're registered online with QR codes, those decks will ascend. And they'll fly off to wherever decks go and can never be used again in competitive play. And that, of course, means we're going to have a situation whereby somebody finds an amazing deck, sells it to someone for loads of money, that person plays with it in a tournament, wins a tournament, and then that deck just can never be used ever again. And honestly, to me, everything about that scenario seems intensely not cool, which is delightful. I've got to say, for me, I am finding so much joy in the fact that we're watching the community that love these kind of games usually, trying to wrap their head around what Keyforge is or what it might be, and trying to work out how to fathom the game, how to break the game. And in doing that, they're spending lots of money on decks just because they have a handful of cards in them, because traditionally that's how these metas work. But without a doubt, you've got people out there now spending large amounts of money on decks that are going to be junk. And I just find it so beautiful and wonderful that people are trying to fathom and break the system of this game. But maybe it's just fundamentally not made for them. Keyforge, as it exists today, just feels like it's made for me. And who knows what it's going to be tomorrow in the future. Like maybe they're going to double down on keeping it casual and fun, or maybe they're going to add some sort of elements that appease more hardcore players. For now though, it's just a lot of fun. You can just buy a couple of decks and just have a go.
Yeah, let's stop gazing into the future of this game like weird cardboard soothsayers. Let's try and piece together some kind of conclusion, all right?
Right.
Do we enjoy the game?
I do, yes.
I think I kind of do, and the novelty is lovely. But I think what threw me is it's not like the games it resembles. People are comparing Keyforge to Magic or Netrunner, and it's not that kind of game. Those are games that support players losing themselves in that world, getting super competitive. If you try and do that with Keyforge, we think you're not going to have the best time, and you know the game's not really there to support you. What Keyforge is great at, and what Shut Up and Sit Down I think can recommend, is trying it. And usually that's not something we can say because board games are really expensive.
Yeah.
It's like part of the reason we really care about our reviews is because you're spending 30, 40, 50 bucks. This, it's like 10 bucks.
Yeah.
Why not just buy a deck?
Buy a deck. Just buy a couple of decks.
£10, please.
I'm not giving you any money. Buy a couple of decks. Just have a go. Like, I've spent a lot of time at conventions just trying this. I was PAX Unplugged, just walking around challenging strangers and just getting a deck and just playing against people. It's a lot of fun just to dabble with. And I mean, it's funny, like, you hated this initially. Like, you hated the art, you hated the matchup.
I still kind of do hate bits of the world.
I kind of hate bits of it as well. Like, it's dumb.
But we've just never seen anything like this.
And it couldn't help but get its way under your skin, under your jumper very gradually. And you, like, begrudgingly were like, I quite like it.
Oh, I do quite like it. And hey, here's a good thing. It's selling like hot banana cakes. And so if you do buy a deck, there's probably going to be like a little growing Keyforge meta somewhere in your city. You can go to a sealed tournament. You can talk to people about it. I mean, here's the thing. When I played Netrunner for years, eventually I learned so much about the game that you could just talk about it. And I've written pieces for Shut Up and Sit Down about how just talking about Netrunner was so much fun. It was almost more fun than the game. With Keyforge, because it's so weird and unknowable, you buy one deck, play it once or twice, you can already start talking about it, start thinking about it, start asking about your friends' decks and asking about factions.
Yeah, and if, like me, you're not bothered about the meta and getting into it heavy, it's a joy to just learn what's going on in the game by just sitting down and playing against people and being like, what, you can do what? And you'll get that for like, 8-9 games of being like, excuse me, sorry, what mechanic is this?
Yeah. So yeah, actually just a really nice surprise for the end of the year. Shut Up and Sit Down recommends giving Keyforge a shot. Which is very different from saying that we fully recommend it, but how could we? Like, everyone who buys a deck is going to have a different experience.
Yeah, some of these decks are slow and bad.
Yes, that's true.
I've seen some combos of things that just make the game go on forever and are not fun. I think the crucial thing for me, though, is it's been less about my experience of being like, this deck is good, this deck is bad. But some of my decks are just fun.
Yes,
One of my most fun favourite decks is not very good, but I love playing it because it's just silly and odd.
Oh, that's great. And to round off this holiday special review, we have generated, with an algorithm, special video ending for you.
Algorithm outro? Shall I pop and sit down? the Arbiting Destroyer. If you're enjoying this video, you can lurk and sub-rub, and there are many videos you can like, enjoy, watch. Archpriest of the Dying World. Death of the West, the Stringent...
Thank you for...
The Stringent Goblin. See you next time!